Hello, my name is Michael Kennoy and welcome to this podcast analysing the crisis communication strategies used by Tiger Woods during his sex scandal of 2009. Throughout this podcast, I will aim to quickly provide an overview of the events surrounding the scandal, give a brief summary of the seminal theories within crisis communication literature, provide a critical analysis of the communication strategies employed by Woods, and finally, provide recommendations as to how Woods could have better handled the situation in order to limit the damage to both his reputation and his relationships with stakeholders. The Woods scandal began on the eve of Thanksgiving 2009, when US tabloid The National Enquirer released a story suggesting that Woods had been involved in extramarital affairs with a woman named Rachel Uchitel. However, The National Enquirer lacks credibility as a reliable source within the US, and therefore the story was initially treated with skepticism by the media and the public. 2 days later, on the 27th of November, Woods was involved in a car accident just outside his home in Orlando. Once it was assessed that Woods was not seriously injured, media attention quickly turned to the unusual circumstances surrounding the accident, casting a spotlight on the private life of one of the most reputable men in sport. Initial speculation suggested that Woods' wife had chased Woods out of the house, smashing the rear car window with a golf club following an argument regarding his adulterous actions. These events acted as a catalyst for further accusations, including new claims of cheating, rumours claiming drug abuse, naked photos of Woods, and even a secret love child. As a result of the crisis, Woods took a 4-month leave from golf in order to attend a sex addiction rehab clinic. The media scandal severely threatened and indeed damaged Woods' impeccable reputation, resulting in a number of sponsors cutting ties with the golfer. A crisis, as defined by Coombs 2012, is the perception of an unpredictable event that can seriously impact an organisation's performance and generate negative outcomes. Furthermore, Coombs makes reference to the impact a crisis can have on an organisation's relationship with its stakeholders, as a crisis gives people reasons to think badly of the organisation. As such, a crisis situation has the potential to cause significant harm to an organisation. One such threat arising from a crisis is reputational damage. The more an organisation is deemed responsible for the crisis at hand, the larger the reputational loss will be. In respect of this, an organisation can develop and utilise crisis communication strategies in order to protect their reputation should a crisis occur. There are a number of communication strategies that organisations and individuals can adopt to control the damage to their reputation as a result of a crisis. These strategies can be both preventative or restorative and can be employed in differing configurations depending on the individual case. One such theory, known as image repair discourse theory and introduced by Benoit 1997, sets out a number of separate strategies used to repair an organisation's reputation throughout a crisis or a scandal. Benoit states that the image restoration strategies are necessary when an organisation or individual is held accountable for an action that is deemed offensive to stakeholders. The 5 image restoration strategies outlined by Benoit 1997 attempt to limit each component of an attack by reducing the threat posed to the accused. The first 2, denial and evasion of responsibility, look to reject or reduce the extent in which the accused is deemed responsible for the offensive action. On the other hand, reducing offensiveness and corrective action are both used to limit the magnitude to which the act is considered offensive. The final strategy, mortification, aims to seek forgiveness from stakeholders and as such restore reputation. At the pre-crisis stage, it is important to outline the good relationship Woods had with the media and the public. Woods' reputation had led him to become the highest earning sportsman in the world, with the majority of earnings being made up of sponsorship deals with some of the biggest organisations across the globe. As such, Woods treated a lot of the media as friends and colleagues and was well respected within the sport. The first inclination of a potential scandal enveloping Woods arose from the publication of the National Enquirer story. Representing a prodromal stage according to Fink's 1986 model, the release of this story represented the first time Woods had been accused of an offensive act, instigating the potential need for image restoration strategies according to Benoit's 1997 image repair discourse theory. However, the National Enquirer tabloid was not viewed as a credible source amongst the public or the media, and as such, although garnering interest, was treated as gossip, and at this point a crisis had not officially occurred. According to the planning prevention stage highlighted by Gonzalez, Herrera and Pratt, this provided Woods with an opportunity to assess the severity of the situation, gain control over the events, and develop a specific crisis plan in order to either prevent the crisis occurring by containing the situation, or limit the effects of the scandal by taking control of the information flow. However, Woods and his management team remained silent throughout the following days, ignoring the story, and as such, missed this opportunity to proactively deal with the crisis. Woods' first public communication with key stakeholders came on the 29th of November in the form of a written statement released on Tiger's personal website. The first strategy employed by Woods was mortification, with Tiger accepting blame for the incident. Alongside this, Woods promised corrective action by ensuring he will certainly make sure this doesn't happen again. Although this was an effective response, Woods failed to address the claims of infidelity or answer any of the questions surrounding the car crash. Furthermore, Woods actually used denial and reducing offensiveness strategies by attacking the accusers. The use of denial as a strategy here highlights the lack of a crisis plan, as the statement turned out to constitute a lie, one of the key actions to avoid when dealing with the media, according to Coombs. As stated by Benoit, organisations that deny responsibility for true accusations face significantly damaged credibility when the truth finally emerges. Woods' second statement again combined the strategies of mortification and corrective action. However, Tiger remained vague on what action he was actually apologising for, using only the word transgression to describe the event. The lack of willingness to reveal details of the scandal and answer media questions prevented Woods from taking control of the situation and the information that was released to the public. The flow of information was therefore controlled solely by the media, and consequently a number of rumours were created, both true and false, prolonging and amplifying the crisis situation. On the 19th of February, Woods made a public apology to a select group of family, friends and business associates. The apology lasted roughly 14 minutes, and within this time Woods adopted a number of Benoit's image repair strategies, targeted to a different number of key private and public audiences. The public apology formed a controlled, prescriptive speech intended to encourage forgiveness and inspire belief. Let's have a quick listen to a part of the speech.
Every one of you has good reason to be critical of me. I want to say to each of you, simply and directly, I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in. I know people want to find out how I could be so selfish and so foolish. People want to know how I could have done these things to my wife, Elin, and to my children. And while I have always tried to be a private person, there are some things I want to say. Elin and I have started the process of discussing the damage caused by my behavior. As Elin pointed out to me, my real apology to her will not come in the form of words. It will come from my behavior over time. We have a lot to discuss, and however, what we say to each other will remain between the two of us. I am also aware of the pain my behavior has caused to those of you in this room. I have let you down, and I have let down my fans.
So, analysing this speech, we can see that Woods' main repair strategies involved a combination of mortification and corrective action, staying consistent with previous communications. However, unlike before, Woods addressed a number of key stakeholders individually. Firstly, he used mortification to apologise to individual stakeholders. This was backed up with a number of corrective actions, displaying how Woods planned to ensure that a transgression of this nature would not reoccur. Another strategy used by Woods in the media address was bolstering. Benoit describes bolstering as the act of describing positive characteristics of past actions in order to offset the negative feelings surrounding the crisis and consequently strengthen the organisation's image. Woods used this strategy when describing the continued work of his foundation. However, the use of bolstering in this scenario was considered amongst some media outlets to be unrelated to the crisis and therefore purely self-serving. Overall, the public statement was considered a success, with many people praising the delivery of Woods' speech and showing humility and vulnerability. The address also indirectly answered some of the key rumours surrounding the scandal, whilst limiting the topics to those that were already available to the public, such as his wife's role in the car crash, the fact he hadn't been using performance-enhancing drugs, and that he did at some point plan on returning to golf. In this respect, the public statement was received positively by a large number of stakeholders and marked the end of the damage containment stage of the crisis, according to Pearson and Mitroff, and the beginning of the crisis recovery. The public broadcast of Woods' apology speech marked the end of the crisis, as he entered the post-crisis stage according to Gonzalez, Herrera and Pratt's model. After the speech, no new information was released regarding the scandal, and media attention began to refocus on Woods' golfing return and subsequent performances rather than his personal life. However, Woods' reputation had been tarnished as a result of the crisis, and therefore a communication strategy was developed in order to undo the damage caused. This strategy was predominantly focused on his reintroduction to the golfing world through both tournament appearances and sporting interviews and press conferences. Woods continued to stick to his promises for corrective action and avoided being caught up in any further incidents. Throughout the crisis, Woods' popularity dropped considerably, becoming the fourth most hated athlete with 53% of people disliking him. The scandal was also estimated to have cost Woods sponsors approximately $12 billion in lost revenue. Despite this, Woods was able to successfully integrate himself into the golfing circuit over time, and by 2013 was again ranked as the world number one and the highest paid athlete in the world. This left Woods' reputation split. He has successfully repaired his reputation in terms of his sporting image, but his personal image continues to require repair. Throughout the scandal, Woods and his management team adopted a number of different crisis strategies with varying success. The consistent use of mortification and corrective action as a combination for communication was effective, along with Woods' personal delivery when addressing the media. However, the lack of an initial crisis plan prolonged and magnified the extent of the scandal. Woods remained silent for too long when the crisis initially broke, and his use of denial as a strategy when the accusations proved correct damaged Woods' credibility with the media going forward. Woods' silence allowed the media to answer the public's questions, creating various rumours that caused further damage to Tiger's reputation. Had Woods initially addressed the media and taken control of the information flow, he could have effectively limited the effect of the crisis, shortening the life of the scandal and restricting the extent to which the reputation required repair. Despite this, Woods' sporting reputation has somewhat provided a platform to allow Woods to slowly and steadily regain trust from his various stakeholders, and although not truly repaired, Woods' reputation has been restored considerably since the height of the scandal. So, that concludes my vodcast analysing the communication strategies employed by Woods throughout his sex scandal of 2009. Thank you for taking the time to listen, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.